Welcome back to Sidebar Social. I'm Dana Stewart.
And I'm Jennifer Grinke. Dana, I really like your outfit today.
Thank you.
Is that something you'd wear to court?
I have. Yes, that's
Okay.
true. And I decided since you love Christmas so much that,
do.
and this episode will be airing in the holiday time. So we're feeling festive today, right?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I have this one. I have a really tacky one that's blue. I mean, more tacky than this one. That's blue with snowflakes. And then I have a green and, what is it? Green and red with reindeer on it too.
Okay,
Yeah.
I love that for you.
Yeah, you'll see me coming in the court when I'm wearing this. Actually, the security guys at court always ask me every time I come through. They're like, "Hey, do you have St. Patrick's Day suit? Do you have Valentine's Day suit?" They seem to like it.
Okay, I love that.
Speaking of Christmas, the time when people get gifts and packages,
Yep.
I think you need to tell everybody about the package you received at our office not too long ago.
Okay,
Somebody sent you a gift
from jail.
from jail,
Got a gift from jail.
a love letter.
Oddly enough, it was addressed from me
Yes,
to a prisoner.
that's right.
So, I decided to open it. I don't know why. I think I thought because it was addressed from me to the prisoner, I should open it. It was returned to sender. So I open it and I'm looking at it and it's a custody agreement, but I'm starting to realize, hey, this is not from us. It's in DC. And then all of a sudden, next thing I know, I flip the page and white powder goes all over my hands.
Yeah, all over your hands, kicks
Freaking
up in the
out,
air.
Kicks it in the air,
Yeah.
freaking out. I tell my assistant, I'm like, go get Dana. And then what'd you do?
So I'm in my office with my paralegal or our paralegal, and we're just talking about a case. And then our assistant runs in and she goes, "Jen needs you now." I'm like, okay, wow. And so get up, run. They're all freaking out over there. Jen's like, "There's
out.
powder. It's all over." It was all over the table. This jail letter. Like, what the hell is this? So then I went out got my med kit. And we got the iodine out.
Wash my hands with iodine.
Cleaned up her hands with iodine. So then we're
Called the police.
Call the police. Police show up randomly. The police friends with Jen. The
They're
girl.
my friends.
Yeah, the girl went to school with you or knew you from California.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, they didn't even really know what to do with the letter though.
So moral of the story is don't open a package that you sent to jail.
Yeah, because we didn't know, was this like some kind of anthrax or ricin?
Yeah, we still don't know.
We still don't know. Waiting to find out.
I'm still alive though, everybody,
Yeah.
so we're good.
Yeah, we were on lockdown for a good 24 hours there. It was scary.
It was scary.
Anyway, okay, well, glad you lived.
I lived.
All right, today, what are we doing?
So today we have a special episode where we are gonna myth bust
Yes, all right, family law style.
family law style
Okay,
in Christmas suits.
so in Christmas suits. So what we've done is and thank you to those at home that submitted your questions or some myths. We've got them sitting here in this cup, and we're just going to pull them out and let's just talk about them. You want to do the honors?
Yeah, I'll
Go
do the first one.
Okay,
Little stuck
you
together.
got two of them there.
I know. Okay, I won't cheat.
Yeah, no cheating.
I'll cheat later when I need to. Okay. If my money is in my name, do I get to keep it?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
People think that a lot. So people have this idea that as they're going through divorce, okay, well, we have separate accounts. We don't even have any joint accounts. Therefore, mine is mine and his is her. His is his or hers is hers.
I mean, at my house, my husband's money is mine and my money is mine.
Yes, I know that's a convenient logic that you have there. Yes. But most people think if it's separate, or a lot of people think, then we get to, keep our own. Why is that not true?
So that's not true because we are in a community property state and it has to do with where the money came from, not necessarily where the money is. So if it's money you earned during the marriage, even though you've kept it in your own account, that does not mean it's your money at divorce. It's still going to be up for division.
People get confused too. You may start the marriage with a 401k. And then while you're working, you continue to contribute. Well, now you're commingling funds because you had separate property asset, the money you put into that 401k before marriage. But then while you're married, the money you put in that you've earned, unless you have a premarital agreement, is community property. So now you're mixing those different funds. Yep. And that's a good segue to, for those wanting more information on that, go back to episode 5 where we had a friend of ours, Damon Wykrant, come on, who is a certified,
divorce financial expert.
Certified divorce financial expert, yes. And he's drops a lot of knowledge on that episode about community property and separate property. Yep. That's a very common question people have.
Okay, one down.
All right, let me see here. We'll reach in. I wish we had the people's names on here who submitted them. See. All right, still on property. In Texas, okay, we're a community property state. So that means everything gets split evenly.
Oh, is that the question?
Yeah,
I
so
was like, no, not in my divorce. I'm taking 90%. Just kidding.
so talk about that one.
So what we have here is a just and right division. And so that can mean a lot of different things. It can mean the court splits the property in half. And I'm not talking literally in half, like you're not getting half of the car. They're going to
Half the baby.
take the values of all the assets and debts, and they're going to make sure that the bottom line number is the same between the husband and the wife. But also there can be different circumstances where, maybe the wife stayed home and the husband worked. And so therefore she's not going to have as much earning potential after the divorce. So maybe in that case, she needs a little bit more than half. And so there can be factors, like if somebody was a little bit naughty during the marriage.
What would naughty be?
Maybe like another wife, a side girlfriend,
Side chick,
boyfriend. Okay. I don't know what it is, but if they're doing things on the side that led to the marriage ending, then the judge might also punish them by giving more than half the property to their spouse.
Right. And I think to piggyback off that question or that myth, another thing people will seem to have the idea of that you literally go through and divide every single account in half. Mm-hmm. We don't do that. So it may be that, again, looking to get around a 50-50 division.
You can't cut the dog in half.
You're not cutting it, although you probably wouldn't care if you did that.
That's so mean. I love my dog.
Okay, sure you do. In your dead fish. But you could, what we try to do is look at if you've got many different bank accounts, different retirement accounts, instead of going through and literally splitting each one, we'll just say, okay, well, if one spouse keeps these few accounts, the other one can keep these other ones, and then let's try to get it balanced or close to 50-50.
Yeah, we try to do what makes sense for that person. So like if I'm representing the spouse that stayed home, I'm trying to get her more cash and some retirement because she might not have the potential to earn as much retirement after. And then we're also looking at, different taxes, like taxes at different accounts and the implications of that.
Yeah.
When we're going to divide things.
There's a lot that goes into it.
There's a lot.
But you don't literally split every single thing.
We're not doing it.
Yeah. All right. Let's draw another one.
Probably shouldn't use Post-its, everyone.
Next time.
They stick to each other. Okay, here we go. Do I lose ownership of my house if I move out?
That's a good one.
Yeah, we get that a lot.
We do get that a lot, and I don't know where that comes from.
It comes from everybody's friends.
That's right, the Google lawyers out there.
The Google lawyers.
Yeah, it's coming from AI. And so, no, the answer is if you were to, let's say you're about to file or you do file and you move out, you're not losing ownership of your house. You still have a right to it. But I guess to piggyback off that one, what if their name's not on the deed? How does that work, Jen?
So again, we're going to go back to it's when the house was purchased. So if the house was purchased by one spouse prior to marriage, then it's going to be characterized as that spouse's separate property. And so there might be other claims that the spouse whose name's not on it has against the house. But even if the house was purchased during marriage and it's only in one spouse's name, if it was purchased during the marriage with funds earned during the marriage, then it's still going to be up for division by the court.
Right. It's community property.
Yeah.
So then if you move out while the marriage is going on, what we're saying, people at home, don't listen to your friends. They don't know what they're talking about. You're not giving up ownership interest.
Okay, but pro tip on the refinance of your separate property house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So if you have a house that you had prior to marriage, you get married and you want to refinance your rate, be very careful during the refinance with what happens with your spouse. So if you don't intend to gift your spouse half of your house, be very careful that you don't put them on the deed and have it be a gift.
That's actually a great pro tip because we've had many clients who did exactly what Jen said. They owned the house before marriage, get married, interest rates drop, they refinance, put their spouse on it, never intending to give a half ownership to their spouse, but the case law will tell you that there's a high likelihood you've just gifted half the house to your spouse. So pro tip.
That's
that was
an
a good one.
expensive gift.
It is an expensive gift.
Follow us and join the conversation on Instagram and YouTube at Sidebar Social.
Okay, let's see what else we have here. All right. Okay, can my spouse leave during the divorce process? I think what they're referring to is basically like leave the house. So staying with the house theme here. So can I make my spouse leave during the process?
Okay, so we get asked this one a lot. It's either can I leave or can I make my spouse leave? And so you can't necessarily make them leave without filing for divorce. So you definitely have to file for divorce before we can get your spouse away from you. And so we do
Get 'em
that.
away.
we can do that kind of two different ways. One, if there's family violence, you can file for what's called an ex parte protective order. And if you can prove there's been violence in the last 30 days, you can request the court to kick them out without a hearing. And so we talked about that with Ryan Sandell on episode 23. So refer back to that if you want some more information on what it takes to obtain a protective order. But most people don't have those facts and circumstances. And so the only way to kick your spouse out of the house without the protective order would be to file for divorce and request what we call temporary orders.
Yeah. And then basically temporary orders hearings, like a mini version of a trial, typically will happen early on after you file for divorce.
Yep.
And you show up to court, your attorney's there, the other side and their attorney, and you're each going on the witness stand, putting on evidence, trying to convince the judge that your spouse should vacate the house and you get to stay in there.
Yeah, and I've never seen a judge make the spouses live together if they don't want to live together, so I definitely think they'll make one spouse leave the house. What types of things have you seen judges look at when they're deciding who gets to stay and who has to leave?
Yeah, I mean, a big part of it's going to be financial, of course, because if a person is vacating, now they have to get a rental. Well, now we have two sets of expenses. And if they don't have the money to afford that, then perhaps that's not an option. But typically looking at if somebody at fault, like what has gone on, so for example, if we've got a client who had just been victimized by their spouse, or maybe that person's got issues with drinking and they're a danger to the kids, there's a good chance, I think, the judge is going to order that person to leave to try to preserve the house, keep the safety there for the kids. We have had a couple times where there's been nesting agreements or arrangements. I feel like I've had a situation where the husband and wife had a kid with special needs, and they had a lot of kind of equipment in the house that was geared to help care for that child. And in that one, I saw the judge actually order that during the divorce, the parties would rotate who gets to live at the house during their periods of possession. So when the wife had the child, she got to stay in the house and the husband had to live somewhere else, and then vice versa when it was his time. But that was just because of the needs of the child.
Yeah, I think if you're wanting to stay in the house and you know it's going to be a fight over who leaves during the divorce process, this isn't necessarily who's going to keep it at the end of the day. I would make a list of every reason that you can tell the judge why it's more important for you to stay in the house. So that could be, you have primary possession of the kids, you can afford the house. I've even had people be like, I decorated this house and it's like custom decorated, like with all my stuff. Your spouse might be danger to the maintenance of the house, like they don't upkeep the house or something like that. They might devalue the house. So just anything, that you can think of that gives you priority to stay in the house.
And then back to one of the other questions about, okay, if one person's ordered to vacate, they don't lose ownership interest in the house. It just means temporarily they're not allowed to live there.
Yeah. So it's not abandonment if you leave your house. Abandonment under our laws, which is a fault ground for divorce, is that you've left for a year or more, basically from the marriage with no intent to return.
Right. You just pieced out.
You literally abandoned the ship.
That's
that bad that you just abandoned.
That's a different
for a year.
story. We've had some people who felt like doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing to keep in mind with the temporary orders hearing. So if you're going to court for whatever reason, but in this scenario, asking the judge to order your spouse to vacate, a lot of the prep work is going to depend too on what county are you in.
Yeah.
Right. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Not only who your judge is, but talk a little bit about, the local rules.
Yeah. So in Collin County, there's a local rule that you only get 20 minutes per side, regardless of the issues. And then in Denton County, I feel like it really kind of just depends on how much time the judge has on that day for that docket, but it's typically 20, 30, 45 minutes. And then in Dallas County, it depends on the docket, but also you can request something called a special setting where typically you can get, up to a total like an hour and a half per side. Just depends on what they have available.
Yeah. And then to put that into perspective, what Jen just said is, okay, in Collin County, You're going to court for a temporary orders hearing where you're asking the judge to make decisions about who gets to live in the house, possession schedule for the kids, child support, maybe who drives what vehicle, all of those things that the rules you'll have to follow while the case is pending. And you have just 20 minutes to try to convince the judge that what you're asking for is best.
It's difficult.
It is difficult, but that's why you got to get prepared.
Yeah.
Right? So we bring them in, get them ready for that. But yeah, it's a nerve-wracking process, I think, for the clients.
Yeah.
To learn more about Grinke Stewart Family Law, visit GrinkeStewartLaw.com.
Can I deny a visit if he hasn't paid my child support?
Okay, so not paying child support. So 2 wrongs don't make a right. That's
Okay.
what it comes down to. You can't do that legally. So if you are receiving child support or you're supposed to receive it and it's not being paid, that does not give you legal justification to withhold that parent who's supposed to pay child support but isn't from seeing the child or the children. So you technically still have to let those visitations occur. A lot of people think, well, you didn't pay, so you don't get to play, right? But that's not how it works. How we, I guess, maybe give a little insight into what a person should do in that situation if they're not getting child support.
Yeah, so if you're not getting child support, definitely keep records of that. We have something here called the Office of the Attorney General that typically will keep records of all the payments if it's being paid through the state disbursement unit. And then I would get in contact with either them or an attorney and file something called an enforcement. And so with an enforcement, the judge does have the option to throw the payer who's not paying in jail.
We've seen that happen.
Yeah.
Here's another pro tip. Okay, if you're sitting in court and you want to know if somebody's about to go to jail, so if there's an enforcement action going on and somebody's asking a person to go to jail because they violated the court order, in this example, not paying child support, well, if you notice some action on the side of the courtroom and you see a few more bailiffs coming into the courtroom,
You're going down.
somebody's going down. Yeah. Yep. Someone's going away in handcuffs. That's another pro tip there. So, okay. That was a good one. All right. Let's see. Okay. I don't need a prenup because I'm broke. What say you, Jen?
I hear this all the time.
Help me. I'm poor.
So I think the main use of a prenup, obviously, if you have assets already, like, you know, the people that got those trust funds, the ones that my family forgot to leave for me, it's good to protect it, right? But it's also a mechanism that you can use to basically have a say in your own divorce or when you die, what happens with your property. So you can use it as a planning method. If you're like, hey, I want all the income I make during this marriage to stay mine during the marriage, because maybe you are going to make money at some point, or maybe you are going to buy assets, or maybe you have kids from a prior marriage and you want to make sure that you're protecting certain assets for them instead of giving half to your new spouse. So I think it's a planning way and a way for you to have control and a say in your assets and debts.
Yeah, that's very well said. I mean, well, we've talked with clients before where we've told them, they're like, well, why would I ever sign a prenup? Whether because they don't have anything or they just think it's like a bad omen or something. But the analogy or the example I try to give them is if they were going into a business deal, the time that they're going to execute the contract and the terms of that deal is when everyone's getting along and things are peaceful. Instead of you enter into the business deal, things go belly up, now you don't like each other, and now you're trying to come up with the terms of how you're going to handle the division of your assets. Same thing with the prenup.
Yeah, a prenup just like takes it, you know, to an easier level, because as long as the prenup's valid, you know there's a roadmap for the divorce in terms of how the property is going to be divided.
Yeah, if you have to get a divorce.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Your turn.
This is the final. Okay, what is the difference between a fault and a no-fault divorce in Texas?
Yeah, we get this a lot too, actually.
Yeah, we do get this a lot.
So in Texas, we are a no-fault state, meaning if you were to get a divorce, you could have it under what we call insupportability, which I think is a confusing word, but I think more people know it as like irreconcilable differences.
Yeah, we don't like each
Basically,
other.
yeah, we just don't like, but we're not blaming each other. I just don't like her, okay?
Yeah.
It's not her fault. She just annoys me. So the difference there, though, you could also, just because we are a no-fault state, you can still have a fault divorce, which certain grounds you touched on one, abandonment. If a spouse just takes off for over a year and with no intent to return. If there's any kind of cruelty, if we've got some kind of family violence going on there. And if the judge finds, if you have a trial and the judge finds that there is reasons or that you've met the burden to prove a fault divorce, then tell the audience what that means as far as property division goes.
Yeah, so it gives you the right to request a disproportionate share of the estate, which means more than half of the estate. So as a punishment for the divorce being their fault, the judge can give you more than half.
Yeah. So it can be a big deal.
Yeah, I think the most common one's probably adultery.
Yeah, adultery is big.
Although I don't really see a lot of people getting a lot more than half for that anymore, but unless the spouse spent a ton of money on them.
Yeah, it seems like with adultery, what we typically will hire someone like Damon to then comb over all the bank statements, credit cards, try to put a dollar amount on how much did that spouse spend in furtherance of the affair. And then the judge can order some or all of that money to come back to the other spouse.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Any final thoughts that you have for the audience at home as we approach the holiday season?
I mean, I think no question is a dumb question. So if anybody ever has questions for us, please feel free to contact us and we can hopefully do another one of these and answer some more questions.
I had a professor once tell us in law school, there's no such thing as a dumb question, just dumb people that ask questions. Yeah, so that made us think twice before we raised our hand.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, if you have any questions about family law in the state of Texas, you can reach out to us either through our podcast website, which is contact@sidebarsocialpodcast.com, or you can reach us at Grinke Stewart Law. Either way, reach out to us. We're happy to set up a time. We can do a consultation, or you can submit questions and we can talk about them on the next episode.
This has been fun, especially, your soup kept me energized this episode.
Fun is a word for it.
Yeah. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Sidebar Social.
Bye, everybody.